Batman has been around for 84 years. For a long time, he existed only in comics with the occasional movie experience and a bad video game. But speaking of various video games that Batman has been in, there were games for PlayStation 1, there were games for SNES, and it all led up to the Dark Knight tie-in game that was on mobile around 2008, I would like to say. Of course, there were LEGO games, but I don't think those count, although I would recommend playing them, they're fire. But, those games aren't really talked about nowadays. Nowadays, you know what is talked about? The Arkham series. The Arkham games are amazing. They're one of the definitive superhero games along with Spider-Man on PlayStation 1, Spider-Man PS4, all those games, right? But why is the Arkham series definitive? It is because of consistent perfection. Even Arkham Origins is great and heavily underrated. The Arkham series began with Arkham Asylum. This game was released in 2009 to critical acclaim, but what do I think of it? Let's find out why Batman Arkham Asylum is a great foundation. Development of Batman Arkham Asylum began in Rocksteady Studios in 2007 with a 40-person team that expanded to 60 people by this project's conclusion. After the approximate 21 months, among others, the design was inspired by Grant Morrison's Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth, a graphic novel comic book. It was also written by one of the same guys who wrote Batman the Animated Series, which this game is insanely inspired by the animated series, and so are the rest of the Arkham games, with the exception of Arkham Knight. This game was built on Unreal Engine 3, and Arkham Asylum's production went under several variations, refining both gameplay, such as combat turning into a rhythm style, and the central story, where they would add or remove certain people of Batman's main rogue gallery. I also find it pretty cool someone I think worked the entire development on Batman's cape, because the physics took that long. That guy must have been so depressed. I couldn't imagine working on a cape for 21 months. I think it took him 8 or 9 months to work on. That's still insane, though. When playing Batman Arkham Asylum or any other Arkham game for that matter, you can use detective vision, a type of vision that gives you information on your environment and enemies. It will color the world blue and highlight interactive objects like weak walls and removable grates along with enemies' locations, and it will show corpses as well. The mode is also used to follow fingerprints, and in Arkham Asylum is used to investigate orders and solve puzzles. Throughout the game, you will choose to go stealthy, or you can go head-on in combat. Although it's actually harder to win a fight when you're in a stealth section, you can fight your way through every single Predator section in the game, as long as you're skilled enough. The game's free-flow combat uses 3 main buttons. Mind you, I'm thinking of PlayStation. Attack, stun, and counter. The combat lets Batman move quickly between enemies, chaining attacks together until enemies are beaten. Combining the 3 main abilities can also keep Batman attacking while moving between enemies and avoiding being attacked himself. The combo attacks are also chained together, and the more combat you get, the more you can free flow faster between enemies. Special attacks like batarangs, throwing enemies, and grappling can provide good skill along with instant takedowns by pressing, I believe on PlayStation it is triangle and circle. Combat is rewarding, and in this game gives you experience points which are used to unlock gadgets, combat moves, and health upgrades. These upgrades can be used for higher combos, and they also give you a variety of moves. When upgrading your moves in this game, it often completely changes the combat in a way to give you a bigger experience for the player, as long as it can progress you through combat and make you stronger to deal with later on. Upgrades like the remote batarang or being able to hide while seeing enemies' heat vision is extremely good. In the combat R, which I believe is for PC, is vital to beat the game, and it makes the combat a lot more fun from the beginning. Throughout the game, avoid damage because it gives you better damage and it can deliver more during each hit. Enemy attacks are warned unless you're playing on hard mode with a symbol above their head, which is like a descriptive thing, which it'll indicate if an enemy can be countered. Some enemies require different approaches in this game. The knife wielders are different because they're a lot like the stun enemies. You have to go behind them, and you have to attack them from behind. This actually threw me for a loop when I replayed the game. You can also be struck from behind. They can also be struck from behind. Other enemies are armed with guns which significantly damage Batman. Overall, the combat in this game is extremely deep and comprehensive, while especially being comprehensive for the first entry in a long-lasting franchise. Stealth is even better, though. Stealth allows you to use gadgets to your advantage, like pulling enemies off of a rail, using the grapple gun, or using weak walls to your advantage. You can also destroy enemies by using the floor grate and jumping on top of them. Use things like Gorgiles, dang, I said that completely wrong, and swooping enemies on top, take them out and hide them. In later games, you could use reverse batarangs, but in this game, you can use just a remote batarang and hit him with the remote batarang from behind. Honestly, the stealth is an extremely missed opportunity because they could have made a boss for the game that's stealthy, even though there was one planned. One of the best features in the Arkham game that surprises even implemented was being allowed to see if enemies are scared. You can see it with your detective vision, using their heart rate, and it really adds to the immersion of the game while really showing how the enemies are scared. Although this game isn't as immersive in its combat as the other games, it's still fun as you scare enemies from behind by walking up on top of them. But yeah, let's talk about the plot. After the Joker assaults Gotham City, he is taken by Batman to Arkham Asylum, which holds many members of Joker's gang who were transferred after a fire at Blackgate Prison. Believing the Joker has allowed himself to be captured, Batman helps bring him into the asylum, which leads to a very cool opening sequence where we can see the asylum and many of the foes we will fight later. But once the Joker is given to the guards, his plan is revealed as Harley Quinn takes control of the security system, and the Joker escapes into the facility. He is helped by a corrupt guard who kidnaps Commissioner Gordon, and the Joker threatens to detonate bombs hidden all over Gotham City. If anyone enters Asylum, the bombs will blow up. This basically stops any member of the Bat family like Nightwing or Robin from entering, giving a good excuse on why Batman is alone in this entry and all the other entries. Tracking Quinn to the medical facility, arresting Gordon, Batman is exposed to the Scarecrow's fear toxin. After fighting off Scarecrow's hallucinations in a cool yet out-of-place section, Batman finds and tracks down Quinn before rescuing Gordon. This then directs Batman to the captured Bane, who has been experimented on by Felipe Young. The Joker frees Bane, and Batman is forced to fight him and defeats him in a boss fight that is somehow worse than all the boss fights combined in Batman Arkham Knight by ramming him to a bunch of walls. It's basically just a big Titan fight. Afterward, he goes to his secret Batcave, how he's somehow hidden under the island where he restocks his gadgets, and I'm pretty sure you get a new gadget there as well, though I don't remember. Batman then learns where the Joker is doing. He returns to the asylum to gain access to Young, who has developed a Titan, or more powerful version of Bane, intending to use the patient's survive more strenuous therapies. Young learned that Joker has been secretly funding her research to create an army of superhuman henchmen. Her refusal to hand over the formula to Joker's return to the asylum. While searching for Young, Batman destroys her Titan formula and rescues her from Victor Zsasz, who you fight earlier. A bomb then kills her, and Joker obtains the Badge of Titan. At the penitentiary, Quinn releases Poison Ivy from her cell before being imprisoned by Batman. Quinn accidentally reveals that the Joker has a Titan production facility deep in the Arkham Botanical Gardens. Batman travels there, and a boss fight ensues where he fights one Titan and ends up winning because the Titan ends up dying due to the fact that the formula is not fully complete. Batman then learns that Titan is created by genetically modified plants. He learns from Ivy that the spores are required to create an antidote found exclusively in Killer Croc's lair in a sewer under the city. Afterward, Joker infects Ivy with Titan, inducing her powers, and she begins to ravage the Arkham Island with giant spores, who are extremely annoying, mind you. Like, I hate these things. En route to Killer Croc, Batman encounters Scarecrow again and pursues him through the sewers. Scarecrow is attacked by Killer Croc and dragged underwater. This is an extremely out-of-place section once again. To me, it just ruins the pacing. You then go down to the sewer and have a very fun section where you're chased by Killer Croc. To me, this is literally the highlight of the game and easily one of the best sections of any Arkham game ever. Batman then recovers the necessary spores and subdues Killer Croc before returning to the Batcave, but he can only synthesize one dose of the antidote before Ivy's plans breach the cave and destroy his equipment. Batman then returns to the botanical gardens and defeats Ivy, halting her rampaging plant. This is honestly awful and is just pattern recognition. The Joker then announces that he's done preparing for his final combat with Batman, and Batman travels to the Asylum Visitor Center to confront him. The Joker reveals he has captured Gordon and tries to shoot Batman with Titanfall dart. Batman leaps in front of Gordon's defense and is shot instead. Batman then attempts to resist the change, and an upset Joker takes an overdose of Titan, mutating him into a massive monster. In a makeshift area above the building roof, Joker challenges Batman to a fight as Titan into monsters in front of the news helicopters. Batman refuses the transformation and uses the antidote on himself. It defeats the Titan-affected Joker and his henchmen. In the aftermath, those affected Titans by Joker begin to revert to normal, including the Joker himself, who is taken custody by the police officers and retake the asylum. Batman overhears a call from crime studios that Two-Face is in progress of robbing a bank, and he flies back to Gotham City in the Batwing. This boss fight easily is the best in the game, and while he's just an enemy and you fight him and you grapple him down, I thought it was very fun. Even Poison Ivy was pretty fun though, although it was still pretty boring. It just feels like they were just trying to shove in combat into a boss fight. Didn't really need it. It's actually been proven that this boss fight was rushed because in concept art they had a more creepy and stealthy boss fight against the Joker. His boss is also a lot more stealthy oriented and allows gadgets to be used unlike the main boss fight. This is literally just combat and a little bit of puzzle, then combat again. Although I've been semi-complaining to you in this video, this game is honestly near flawless and the post-game isn't as bad as later games as well. Early on in the events of Batman Arkham Asylum, the Riddler can be found hacking the architecture on the island and putting trophies all over the island in order for Batman to find them. After the Riddler hacks into the system, he hacks into Batman's communications and challenges Batman to solve all of his riddles and retrieve the Riddler trophies he scattered across the island. Riddler trophies are marked on the map, and if Batman collects the Riddler trophies, which were left by Riddler, he left the island. After solving and retrieving all the riddles and the Riddler trophies, respectively, Batman then uses Riddler's use of a communication system to track his location to a local church in Gotham, which he forwards to the GCPD. While Batman listens to his comms, the GCPD breaks into Riddler's hideout and incapacitates the Riddler. Unlike a lot of Arkham games, I actually don't mind the trophies in this game. Although they're way less fun to collect than Batman Arkham City, Origins, and Night, you get pretty cool facts from the Arkham story, from the Arkham bios, which I found really cool, unlike the Arkham stories, which are extremely boring. I also like the bug tips you find around the island, which are based on the founder, and the bios are extremely cool, especially when you see in later games. Unlike later entries, Arkham Asylum trophies really give you a layer of depth into this version of Gotham City, and give you much insight into the villains that you'll fight later throughout the other games. The audio tapes are also really, really cool, and unlike other games, they're not boring. It's ironic that I say this because I'm actually currently doing Arkham City's challenge maps. Earlier in the video, I talked about the challenge maps, but they're actually pretty tame in this game. It's ironic that I'm talking about it, like I said earlier, but the Arkham challenges in this game are actually not bad. They're worse than Arkham City and Arkham Knight. Overall, they're extremely solid. The post-game is extremely solid in this game, and I recommend anyone play it simply because the simplicity just works in its favor, honestly. I talked earlier about my grievances with the game. I'll recap them. The bosses suck. The post-game is a little too simple at times, although I do like it. And Scarecrow just feels extremely out of place. I had a whole scripted section for this, but I kind of feel that I communicated my grievances already, so I kind of just say those points. Overall, this game is really, really good, and I think it's the most simplistic that works in its favor. I think that it's fun to play, and if you have not played it, play it. This is not a game you want to skip. It's short. The game takes 25 hours to 100%. That's actually pretty short for nowadays. You can do this game story in 8-9 hours, especially unless you play on hard mode. It's pretty difficult, which is basically just new game plus for this game. Overall, I really enjoyed it. If you like this video, you want to check out my Jedi Fallen Order video. I've not played Survivor yet. And if you like Batman in general, my Batman video that I released last year will subdue. I'm Joseph from Thundermightstudios, and I will see you guys very, very soon.